Okay, guys. So I want to come back up here and address a few issues. Something I didn't get a chance to really go in on my original. Well, I ain't gonna say, but basically, I'm just not starting my channel. But this was last summer, and I want to address this now because there's this so-called rumor out that the current Dream Team would destroy the Dream Team of old. In the when I say Dream Team, I mean the 1992 Dream Team. Now, I don't have to say who they are, but let me just run off the roster of who we talking about, so you guys can kind of understand what we're talking about. So we're talking about. Let me go back. Where's the roster? Here we go. Christian Laettner, David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen, Michael Jordan, Clyde Drexler, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Chris Mullin, Charles Barkley, and Magic Johnson. Now, I can make the case that there are at least two of the five greatest players that ever touched the floor uh, in history. There is arguably the first. I would, Larry Bird being the greatest small forward. I'm sorry, LeBron James just doesn't rank over Larry Bird because of what Larry Bird has accomplished throughout his tenure as a basketball player. That's just no way I can put him above Larry Bird. But let's not even go. It doesn't matter. What I'm saying is these are some of the greatest players that ever played the game. Well established, right? Now let's go back and let's look at now. This is the schedule of the 2024 Dream Team. They were in Las Vegas, Nevada. They had some games. They won a 14-point victory against Canada. Let's go over here to Canada. Let's see. That's France. We'll get it in a second. Germany, Australia, Canada. Now, Canada has a few players that are in the NBA. Only one of these guys is actually a high caliber player, and that's Shea Gilchrist Alexander. He's the only one uh, that I would say was, So let's say that I could see this. Shea Gilchrist Alexander's an MVP candidate. Now, if I go and look at the rest of this roster, like let's do this. Let's just come from the bottom of the top to the top. Let's see who these guys are. So this guy right here, uh, he's overseas right now, but his career average is 2.6 points. Okay. We got Phil Scrub. Let's see what he did. He played for Canada. Let's see what his he's an international basketball player. I never played in the NBA. Okay. Because this comes with, Thomas Scrub. Let's go here. It's another guy. Never played in the NBA. Okay. Melvin, I'm not even gonna try. What's that? Ejim. Let's see if we can. Let's see who this guy is. I think he got drafted. Iowa State. Yeah, he. Let's see if this guy played in the NBA. Let's see. Did he ever play in the NBA? Nope. Never played in the NBA. Okay. So these aren't NBA players they're going up against for the most part. And you're gonna see that there are a few, and you'll see because I've done this before. But I like to go through and see what was the caliber of players. Now this is an NBA player, not playing right now. He's overseas, but his career average is 5 points. Okay, that's one. That's one or two. Let's go with this guy here. He is playing at Minnesota right now, averaging 8 points over his career, averaging about 8 right now. So let's go with this guy here. And the reason I'm saying that, I'm showing you something. This is the greatest team ever assembled. That's what they said on ESPN, that this is the greatest team ever assembled. Right now, he's averaging 10 points for Indiana Pacers. It's another guy, Trey Lyles. Let's see. Trey Lyles. Career average of 7 points, been in the league 10 years. Okay. Playing for Sacramento. I want you to, because what I want to do, I want to look at our roster of who we have and who they're going up against. 9 point. Okay, this guy's career is 12 points. Went down, but he had a couple of good years. One good year in OKC as a role, probably on a team that wasn't that good, but he averaged 17. But he's been in OKC his whole time, averaging about 12 points for his career. Kelly Olynyk. We got him. I think he's still in the league too. Let's see where he is. He's second. He was second team all rookie. Who does he play for? Okay, these are his teams. Let me see if I can find his I don't see anything for Basketball Reference for this guy. There it is, right there. All right. Career average of about 10 points. Okay. So, I mean, look, the Canadian, like I said, the Canadian roster, Jamal Murray, Shai Gilgeous Alexander, Dillon Brooks. But this is the thing you got to understand. Let's look at the USA roster. Devin Booker, all-star, max player. LeBron James, all-star, max player. Joel Embiid, all-star, max player. Steph Curry, greatest shooter of all time. Drew Holiday, I don't think he's an all-star, but still. Anthony Davis, first team all-defense last year and second team all-NBA. Anthony Edwards, first team all-NBA. Tyrese, all these all-star. Well, Bam, I don't know about Bam. I don't know about this guy, Nigel Hayes, Michael Porter, but you got Kevin Durant. So you just on these, just with the firepower alone, this was supposed to be a blowout. Well, man, and the excuses made when the Olympic team only won by 6, 7, or 14 points from the Canadian team. Well, they have some good pieces. Okay, all right, I'll concede that point. Now let's go to the schedule again. Then they played Australia. They only won by 6 points. Let's look at the Australian roster. That's Germany. This is Australia. Okay. No names of note. Dante Exum is kind of like was a project player. It's never really panned out. They did what is it? So he's been out the league. He was out the league a couple of years, went overseas, career average of about 6 points. So Dante Exum was supposed to be a great player, but he never really panned out. I mean, I don't really see anybody. Let's see the guy that got the most points on this team. Who is he? I mean, there's no name of note. These on All-Stars. This isn't Shai Gilgeous Alexander. This is a guy, 6'11". He's in the NBA right now. Career average of about 5 points. You got Patty Mills, who, he's a name, won a couple of championships. Respectable player. Definitely a respectable player. Patty Mills about 8 points. The reason I'm saying that, because if I go get the schedule of the 1992 Dream Team, and I look at the 10, I look at this roster, the weakest point on this roster is Christian Laettner. Now, take in mind, Christian Laettner. Let me click on Christian Laettner right quick. I want you guys to see what he did in college. I just want you guys to see who Christian Laettner is. There's a reason Christian Laettner was on this team and not Shaquille O'Neal, right? Christian Laettner, in fact, let me just go to the top and do a search for him. Let me show you. Let's look at his college. I want to see his college. Duke Athletics, 1991-92. Let's look at his numbers, stats. They're not showing his stats. Okay, let's go back. We're gonna go college years. Christian Laettner. I want you guys to see how good this guy was. These are his college stats. 4 years in college. First year, he only averaged 8.9 points. But then all of a sudden, he jumps up to 16 in the 1990 season, 19 in the second season, runner-up to all, basically run-up. I think that's what that represents. I can click on that. What is that? All-American team, second team All-American. And then his final year, first team All-American. I mean, come on. I mean, AP Consensus Player of the Year. Let me go back. There it is right there. Look at there. Wooden Award, Naismith Award, AP Player of the Year. I don't know what that is. USBWA Player of the Year, Christian Laettner. Then you had the NABC Division I Player of the Year, the Sporting News Player of the Year, the Rupp Trophy after Adolph Rupp. So as you can see, this guy was the most dominant player coming out of out of college that year, just as a frame of reference so that we can talk about this. So when I talk about that 92 roster, this 92 roster was no joke, right? But as you can see, these aren't really what you're looking at. If this is the greatest team of all time ever assembled, they struggle with guys averaging 8 points, 7 points, 9 points a game. Struggled to where they can only pull off let me see. They were only able to pull off a 4-point victory. But this is the greatest team of all time. Right? That's basically what they were. Let's keep going. Let me close this. Now, after that, let's go down to Serbia. They handily beat Serbia, so I'm not going to look at that right now. But then we had a nail biter with South Sudan, which shouldn't happen. South Sudan is a brand new country that just came about. But let's look at this roster. So let's look at their starters. This guy here is averaging 25% from the field. He's playing for Philly right now, I think. Yep. Well, no, he's not in the league right now. He got in the league. He had a hiatus. He played 4 games in the NBA. 4. That's it. That's one guy. Let's see who this guy is. We're about to run into some issues. This guy right here. Played for Baylor. Never played in the NBA. Never even played in the NBA. So this is another guy that they're saying. It says Brooklyn Nets. So okay, so let's see. Let's see if he's on the Brooklyn Nets. Let's see. Long Island Nets. That's G League. These are G League teams, man. Yeah, G League. He played in the G League for the Brooklyn Nets. Okay. Let's see who this is. These are guys that probably can't even make a roster. I think 1 or 2 of them actually did. It's been a while since I did the research. 6'9". Oh, okay. Played in the NBA. He bounced around up until last year. I don't know if he's on a team right now. He might be from Memphis. I don't know. Or he might be overseas right now. 4 points for his career. So that's one NBA player. See about this guy here. He's an international player. Didn't play in the NBA. Okay. Another international player. Y'all starting to notice something? Carlik Jones. Let's see. Okay. It's not. He's overseas. Well, he's overseas last year, but he's averaging about 2 points when he did play in the NBA. But let's look at the games played. Looks like he just got a couple of 10-day contracts. I mean, he's not a guy that's been on an actual roster. And I should have looked that up for the other guys. So he's not a guy that actually had a roster, was on a roster. Let's see. Let's go through this list because I want you guys to see that they lie to us constantly on places like ESPN and places like that. This guy right here doesn't look like he played in the NBA. Let's click here. Went to NBA Academy in Africa. He's currently at Duke. Okay. He's at Duke right now. Cool. JT Thor. Let's look him up. It's another guy. See what he did. 6'10". He's in the league right now, averaging 4 points a game for Cleveland. That's 2 NBA players. But hold on, he's only played 7 games this year. But he got a substantial amount of games in the past. So I'll say he's a legit NBA player. Unlike he's probably the only one so far. That's a legit one. He's coming off the bench. Let's see who else. This guy right here. See where he's been. Overseas player. Yep, overseas. Overseas. Why is it that this is the team that they played to with? This is the greatest team ever assembled. You're being lied to. That's basically what I'm trying to prove. I can keep going, but you'll run into, I think there's a good guy that plays for Atlanta that was actually pretty solid. Let me see. You need to go to Basketball Reference a lot of times with these guys because you'll see they'll put NBA on there, and these guys played. Well, this guy hasn't. They'll put that they're an NBA team, and these guys played. I mean, literally had a cup of coffee. I mean, they weren't there for long. We're talking maybe 8 games, 9 games. Now, these guys are better than the average ball player, obviously. Yet another overseas player right here. Let me see. Yet another. He's in the G League. Yep. He's in the G League right now. So, I mean, I can't count him as a legit NBA player. I can't. Can't do it. He's not even in the G League this season. Okay. These are project players, man. Sunday Dech. Let's see about him. Let's see what he's done. NBL Australia. He's probably overseas right now. Perth, Australia. That's where he's playing. Okay. We're starting to run into some problems here with this roster. Let's look at this last guy. Okay. Let's click on this, see what he did. Sydney Kings, another Australian overseas, and he's overseas guy. Undrafted player. So that whole roster had what? One legit guy that played more than 5, 8 games in the NBA? One. And they only beat him by 1 point. Well, that was just a fluke. Let me explain something to you. We're going to explain. Let's look at their results, Olympic results. I just want to show you what these teams were able to do. Their closest game, I think, was 25 points. They won this game by almost 80 points, literally. Or what is that? 60 points. This one right here, that was Angola. China, Croatia, they won that one by just only 33 points. They won this one by 40, 43, 44 points. You got another one, 40 points, 40-point victory, 40-point victory, 23 and 15, almost 40-point victory. And then we got this one, 24 plus 27, almost 50, actually over 50, 51-point victory. And the final game, it was only 31-point victory. Man. I mean, wow, they didn't do too well, did they? So, well, yeah, but see, you got the excuse making is, well, the foreign teams back in the day were not as good as they are today, and that's why this team got that far. I understand what you're saying, but what you're telling me is that and I'm gonna tell you why they say that. There was not as much scouting going on back then as there is now. So even with the scouting, none of these guys are legitimate players in the NBA. Like none of them. If we go to okay, so let's go with all right. So we just went through the South Sudan roster. Let's let that one go. So let's look at the schedule again. They had a nail biter with Germany, only by 4 points. Germany, surely they had some fire players on their team, right? Let's see. Schroeder, journeyman role player. We know who he is. I mean, I ain't trying to be funny. I don't really see anybody of note on these teams like that. I mean, I'm sure they probably are a couple of NBA. Okay, this guy played for the Magic. Okay, he plays for the Magic. Let me see. So let's click here. Okay, let's go back. So I don't really see too much on him. He's playing for the Orlando Magic. Okay. Not really giving me his career stats. There we go. Season right now, he's averaging minutes, rebounds. I don't really see any significant. Where are the points? Personal fouls. Don't really see it. Scoring splits. I mean, they got it really broken down. I can't even tell you what this is. They got it so convoluted over here. Let's keep going. Right now we're saying 5 point. Well, that can't be right. That must be over the last 5 games. No way he's averaging 24 points a game. Maybe he is. Let's see. I've never heard of him. See who this guy is. Is he an actual 24 point a game guy? Let's see. Small forward Orlando. Yeah, he's actually balling. They had a decent player. Okay. So this is the first guy I actually found somebody that actually was a legit problem for that would represent a legitimate problem. So that's one. This is the first guy we discovered. Now, of course, you're gonna run into Luka, Shai Gilgeous, Alexander, guys like that. But this is the first guy that's of note. Now, take in mind now, when I say of note, remember now, this is the roster. I could take Anthony Davis off the bench and nobody on any of these teams outside of SGA and Jokic are going to come close. Kevin Durant, same. Right? You got Jason Tatum, just went to the finals. Right? You got Anthony Edwards, who said he would cook Michael Jordan. You got Steph Curry. You got the GOAT himself, LeBron James. So as you can see, these rosters and these teams that these guys went up against were not that good. It was just, a fallacy. Let's keep going. Let's go to. There was a game that was awfully close. The Serbian game was pretty close. Let's see. Let's go to box score for this one. Who's Serbia got? Let's see. They got Jokic. We know who the Joker is. Pretty much the best player in the world right now. Okay. But who are the rest of these guys? I think one of these guys is I think this is him. This guy here plays for the Atlanta Hawks. I think he plays about 12, 13 a game. Yeah. Good player. He's a good player. But was developed, and he's averaging about 11 points for the Hawks right now. That's who he is. See who else. That was about it. I remember the rest of the people were just people that had, decent players. but they weren't like ooh-wee players, as we say, well, in my neck of the woods. What's up? What's up, Humble? And so if you look at this roster, uh, you'll see that these guys just are not, it wasn't that much of a roster that they faced to be the greatest team ever assembled. The reason I came up and talked about this, because I get tired of watching these television shows on ESPN and Fox Sports and listening to them drag and insult the greatness of the people that came before, because the teams that are playing right now just aren't that good, right? I mean, you had France. I think they had a couple. You had Nicholas Batum, Wimby, Rudy Gobert. Now, back in the day, if you go back, the teams were actually better. Like if you watch the Redeem team on, if you go and watch the Redeem team on, what's the name of that? Netflix. You'll see where Kobe literally had to step in and put on the Superman cape to save them while they were on their way to getting beat by Kobe. I mean, by Spain. They struggled. And Kobe said, I got you. Get back. I got you. They were about to lose again. They started losing. They said, well, the talent overseas is catching up. Is it that the talent overseas was catching up, or the mentality of the players? These are this generation, and probably 15, 20 years ago, you're talking about that generation of where AAU had developed into this situation where everybody wasn't trying to stack up on their team. Think about it. This was the stack our teams generation. This was LeBron. This was Dwayne Wade. This was that generation. And what did it take to have to save that team? It took Kobe coming in, changing the mentality. These guys were literally out partying. They had lost. Take in mind now, you've been on the team. You've lost. It's not what they're saying, is what they're not saying. We lost. We got on the team with LeBron, D-Wade. We had already lost before, and we partying and going and hanging out after losing. As if you're not. And coming in the morning, they saw Kobe with his knees wrapped up, drenched in sweat, eating breakfast, saying, yeah, man, I'm about to go work out again. And they were like, what? He said it was 6 o'clock in the morning. Kobe had already done a workout. And then they started getting up at 3 in the morning with Kobe doing exercises, working out with him. Why? Mentality, Mamba mentality. When the team needed a bucket, who did they go to? Kobe, because they knew he was the real killer on that team. To sit up here and say, and let me say another thing. The fact that you had to go to Kobe to be a killer at that time just goes to show you how limited the talent pool had went down. It had went down. I mean, you got Carlos Boozer on that roster. Let's go back. Let's see if I can. Let's go back. Let me go right here, and let's look at the history of these rosters. National teams, 5-on-5 Men World Cup roster news. History. Here we go. So let's go all-time men's results rosters, coaching, all-time USA men's roster. Here we go. So we're going to go back. Oh, this is a book. Okay. Let's go. I didn't want to do all this. You're tripping. I did not want to do all this. Well, it doesn't matter. The whole premise I'm trying to show you, and I can probably go 92 Dream Team. Let's see if I can do 96 Dream Team. Basketball team in 96. This is 92. Let me take this back. Copy. Just take that to number 96. This is 96. Charles Barkley, Grant Hill, Penny Hardaway, David Robinson, Scottie Pippen, Mitch Richmond, Reggie Miller, Karl Malone, John Stockton, Shaq, Gary Payton, and Hakeem Olajuwon. This was the Atlanta Olympics. Okay, let's look at 2000. We're doing something. I'm just trying to understand. Okay, Sharif Abdul-Rahim, Ray Allen, Vin Baker, Vince Carter. You starting to notice something? The greatness. And listen, I'm not dogging or tearing these guys down. They're not first team all NBA guys. They're not. I mean, I ain't gonna say they wasn't first team all NBA. They're not. What you're starting to see is the best players aren't playing. Steve Smith, Gary Payton. Gary Payton, he was older, but he was still a solid player. You had Mourning, loved him. McDyess was a heck of a player by then. You had Jason Kidd, great player. Allen Houston, good player. Tim Hardaway, great player, actually. Kevin Garnett, which was, starting to reach into his prime by the end. Vince Carter, who was in his prime. As you can see, this is the Olympics where the dunk happened, where Vince Carter cleared the guy's head and all that. And now we're going to start to losing. This is 2004. We got, I think this is the Allen Iverson team. So you got Stephon Marbury, D. Wade, Carlos Boozer. You got LeBron. So you're starting to see that this is supposed to be the greatest player of all time. First ballot Hall of Famer, easily. Carmelo's a first ballot Hall of Famer. Dwayne Wade's a first ballot. Allen Iverson's a first ballot. Tim Duncan, obviously, is Tim Duncan, right? Greatest power forward. But what you're going to start seeing with these teams as you go throughout history, you had a few pieces, but as great as Tim Duncan was, he needed some assistance on the court, like a Kobe or that type of player. He just did. Iverson was not that guy. He wasn't. He was not going to do what needed to be done to win. He was a great player, but he wasn't going to do what the team needed to win. He wasn't. I think this the bronze medal team in Athens. I think they were favored for the gold medal previously. However, they only won the bronze. Yeah. So they won bronze. They were favored for gold, came in third. Okay. And I think that's where you get the Redeem team in 08. Now you got Bean. You got Bean on the team. The point I'm trying to make, the talent level. In fact, let's go back. Let's go back and see who that team lost to. Now, I'm not saying these teams weren't great because they beat them, right? But they lost to Puerto Rico. Let's see who was on that Puerto Rican roster in 2004. Yeah. Let me see if I can click on that. Let's see. Yeah. National basketball team 2004. Here we go right here. Okay. So Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico really had no business beating these guys. Let's just go right here and do 2004. Puerto Rico basketball team roster. There we go. Let's see who's on there. Maybe there's some great guys on there. I mean, let's see. Okay, they had Arroyo. Okay. Yeah, I don't see any got names of note like that where they should have lost. But it's basketball. Now, let me say this. Am I disrespecting these guys and saying that these aren't good players? This is around the time I went overseas and was playing. I was actually playing in Puerto Rico when this happened that summer. I played in Puerto Rico, 2004. They had some great talent. J.J. Barea, I think he gave us like 34. So I wouldn't dare besmirch the name of the Puerto Rican basketball players. They got some nice talent over there. But the point I'm trying to make about this whole situation and scenario is that shouldn't have happened. Now, is the talent level catching up? Was it catching up at the time? Or was there a flaw in the system? Because by then, these guys have came up through that. This is the first generation of guys that came up through the AAU system. The way it was. AAU is an old program, but these are the first generation of guys that, think about it. What happened with D Wade and LeBron James? These are the guys that decided to stack their teams, being the 2 and 3 best players in the NBA. And they're the first group of guys that decided, hey, let's stack our team. Let's put our team where it's easy for us to win and it's not competitive. That's who this is. That's who the 2004 roster is. We've never seen that before. So there's a different mentality with Dwayne Wade and this. And think about it. He tried to get Carmelo. They literally tried to get Carmelo Anthony, LeBron James, and D Wade all on the same team with Chris Paul. That's literally what LeBron was trying to do. That just got Carmelo just said that. So this is a different breed. These guys don't have that competitive fire. Now, am I saying that about everybody on this right? Hell no. I'm not saying. I wouldn't dare say that about Stephon. Wouldn't say that about Iverson. Definitely wouldn't say that about Tim Duncan. But you started to bring in the weakness in the game. It started coming about. A lot of guys started wanting to stack their teams, wanting the easy way out. And the ringleader was, LeBron Ramon James. So I wanted to come up here today to just do this video to show you guys that this idea that the 2024 Olympic team is the greatest team ever assembled is just laughable. It's laughable. It's like trying to compare Marvel's Defenders versus the Avengers, right? Like, yeah, I like Luke Cage. I like Daredevil. I like those guys, from the TV show, right? Jessica, whatever her name is, right? So you got all these different guys, and they're great. They're a great bunch of guys. You got the Immortal Iron Fist, Danny Rand. Great show, right? But comparing him to Thor, the Incredible Hulk, Iron Man, just off those three alone, then you got Captain America. You got, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's not even close. You got Vision. You got Wanda Maximoff. What her name? The Scarlet Witch. Right? I mean, you got it's not even close, bro. That's what it's like. It's like comparing the Avengers to Marvel's Defenders. Now, Marvel's Defenders, they can handle low-level competition. But when it comes to them big boys, when it comes to going up against Thanos, don't make me laugh, right? The only one that had a shot at Thanos, if I'm being honest, if we even in the Avengers, Wanda Maximoff would have a shot. Now they OP'd what's her face? Your girl, Captain Marvel. They overpowered her, but other than that, it's just not even up for debate as far as who's the most powerful, right? And they nerfed Thor, if we're really being honest with you. Thor, if you really know the comic book lore of who he really is, no way in hell that the Marvel's Avengers are. And that's what it's like. It's like comparing the 92 Dream Team is Marvel's Avengers. Everybody on that roster was a first ballot Hall of Famer. And arguably, the 92 roster, if I'm being honest with you, includes top 25. The whole damn roster is top 25. Easily, that whole 92 roster team is easily a top 25 who's who. David Robinson, Patrick Ewing, Larry Bird, Scottie Pippen. You might struggle with putting Pippen in there. I don't. Michael Jordan, that's number one. Clyde Drexler, Karl Malone. These are all arguable top 25. Like, not one of these guys are considered not 20. No, not. They're all top 50. Like, it's not even up for debate. Now, If you want to go with greatest college player of all time, obviously you got to go with Kareem. But once you step outside of Kareem, Christian Laettner comes to mind as easily in the top 5 of one of the 5 greatest college careers ever in the history of college basketball. Okay? So this dream team in 1992 is who's who. Now, I'm sorry, but let's do this one more time. Let's look at the roster we had with the Team USA. I see Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, and LeBron James. I don't even put Anthony Davis in that, but he's a top 75 player, so that's 4. The rest of them, I'm sorry, Derek White, no. Anthony Edwards hasn't done anything. Tyrese Halliburton hasn't done anything. Jason Tatum just got over the hump. Bam Adebayo hasn't done anything. Drew Holiday, okay, he was a 3rd option on the team. Joel Embiid has never played over 65 games in a season, so we're not even going to count him. I think he played 66 games one time, 67, once in his whole entire career. Devin Booker, no. These guys haven't. Guys, it is an insult. Look at these 2 rosters. It's an insult to say that that's the greatest team ever assembled. All-time assist leader. Michael Jordan, just period, the greatest of all time. Scottie Pippen, greatest defensive threat we've probably seen in a guard ever. Like, if I'm being honest with you. Larry Bird, Mr. Clutch, 3 times in a row MVP, right? Patrick Ewing, his only problem and weakness is he ran into Michael Jordan, or he would be one of the greats. David Robinson, I think he won 2 championships. And let's not forget, back in 1992, what was David Robinson then? Clyde Drexler, MVP of 1992 season, won 2 back-to-back championships with your boy, with what's his face? I mean, you name it, man. Charles Barkley, let's be honest. And I'm going to say this and I'm going to end this video. Charles Barkley, I can put Charles Barkley up against any of these guys on this whole entire roster. And with the amount of help that LeBron James had, and with the amount of help that Steph Curry had, he doesn't lose. He never loses. Charles Barkley would never have lost any final series if he had the 73-win Warriors roster. You put him on that roster and take Draymond off that roster, they're not losing, bro. They're not. They're not losing. They're not. They're not. You could take Draymond off and put Barkley there, and everything that he wouldn't, that Clay wasn't able to do or Steph wasn't able to do, there would not have been enough referee cheating or Bogut getting hurt or game suspensions. You could have suspended Barkley game. It wouldn't have been a game 5 with Charles Barkley. Another thing, the 2011 Miami Heat debacle for LeBron James never happens to Charles Barkley, ever. Barkley would never go from averaging 28, 29 points a game in the playoffs, get to the finals, and average 17 points. Never. That would never have happened to Charles Barkley, ever. Another thing, Barkley with a top 5 Anthony Davis in LA would have won at least another 2 or 3 championships. Yes. And Barkley said this recently. He said, man, if I'd have known that people wasn't going to count stacking your teams up against you, and it was all about just chasing stats, man, I'd have just stacked my teams and did the same thing. I actually was trying to compete. So I put this video out just to kind of change certain narratives. You know, God bless y'all. Y'all have a good one, and I'll see y'all later.